Professional Management Resources Corporation. You can listen to today's broadcast at any time on demand and find scores, schedules, rosters, and recaps only at GoUnionBulldogs.com.
stop and start and stop it.
Yeah, it works. It works. Is it weird that it didn't ask you to format the disc? Should I turn it off? So, can I say that it's 19 minutes before the game, the other team's not here, we haven't gone through an actual warm-up yet? No, I mean, they'll put more time up when they get here.
Oh, yeah.
Where are they coming from?
Where is...
Right, bro?
Yeah. Hey. John, it didn't do it again. Hey, it didn't do it again. It just went straight to the thing.
Maybe it's already formatted. I don't know.
The thing is, I don't want to give him a first. Not like it matters for this game, but you want to try that one?
If this one says format first, then go get another DVD from Russ.
Alright, my computer's derping now. Union's Wi-Fi is shit. Do you have limited access on your internet?
No.
I do.
Where'd you watch that at?
ESPN. Just watch ESPN.
Go watch ESPN?
Yeah. Right there.
Alright, you go pull back up.
Yeah. John, these already have something on them.
Huh?
These already have something on them.
Or?
I mean, come look. I mean, I've never seen it do this. I've never seen it do that.
Alright, go.
I've never physically seen it do that.
Go to Rusty and ask him if it's okay if we can record over them, but tell him to give you 2 DVDs because those are in format.
Alright. So you want me to just take these back to him and then just get 2 of them?
Yeah, we can do that. Because I've never seen it do that before.
Just tell them what the problem is. Even if they're in there, go.
Where's he at?
Probably down here.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network. We're about 14 minutes, 19 seconds away from tip. A loose opening here for those who have just tuned in or have been tuned in for the broadcast. Kentucky Christian had a little trouble getting here this afternoon. They just arrived, so I assume that they're going to put some more time up on the clock and allow Kentucky Christian to warm up. So that means that we'll be a little late getting started here today. 2 p.m. tip-off is what we're slated for against Union and Kentucky Christian, but it looks like we'll get started a little later as Union hasn't even went through their warm-up yet. So I'm going to say they're going to put probably 20 more minutes back up on the clock when Kentucky Christian gets dressed and goes through there. I'm sure they have to go to the trainers and whatnot, and then probably they'll come out on the court and start getting ready, I assume about 2 o'clock. So I'll keep you guys updated periodically of when the Union and Kentucky Christian going to tip it off. But in the meantime, just stay with us, and we'll leave it trained here on the court, the camera trained on the court, and hopefully we'll have a ball game coming up for you here shortly, no matter where you're joining us from. Hope you, those from Kentucky, hope you dodge the snow unless you like snow. I'm kind of bummed we didn't get snow here in Barberville. It's it all melted off before I even got up this morning, so I'm bummed out. I'm a snow lover, but so for those of you who did get snow out there, I'm pretty jealous. But we'll step out and take a break, and we'll be back and here hopefully in the next, I'm going to say 30 minutes or so. Hopefully we'll have a ball game. Again, I think they'll put 20 minutes up on the clock for Kentucky Christian Union to warm up, but I'm not sure about that. We'll see. Only one game today, so I don't think it's going to matter. So I'm sure Coach Burton is okay with whatever time that they tip it off today. So we'll step out and take a quick break, and we'll be back. You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network. Again, if you're just joining us, a little bit of a delay in the game. We're supposed to tip off here in about 5 minutes. They put 20 back up on the clock, 18-15 before we get started. John North alongside Mason Elam. John Riddle couldn't be here today. But Mason, Kentucky Christian had some problems today getting here, but looks like we're actually going to get started, but just a little bit later than we said before.
Yeah, and Jordan Childress, our assistant SID, was just up here talking to us, but I said it. I was up in Lexington last night, and they did get quite a bit of snow in that area. So, travel. I didn't, like Gatto said, he didn't expect them to even show up today. But regardless, they're here. Whether we start at 2 or we start at 2:15, we're gonna play this basketball game. And,
like I said beforehand, I don't think it really matters because there's only one game today. So I'm sure it won't hurt anything to get started about 15 minutes later. But we will get started here eventually as there's 17:20 up on the clock. So we'll step out and take a break, and we'll be back to talk a little bit about this team and a little bit about Kentucky Christian as well. Nonetheless, glad to have you with us here on the Bulldog Sports Network. We'll go back and open it back up here in about 5 minutes or so, give or take a couple of minutes. So we'll step out and take a break and be back. You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network.
There's a call to be answered. Time is still on your side. The pads still feel good. The spirit of competition is still alive inside. The desire still drives. A new team welcomes you and challenges you. There's always room to grow. The phrase student athlete has a great ring to it. Lasting friendships are ready to be made. You just want to keep playing. Game on. Learn more at naia.org.
You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network, brought to you by Lowe's Sporting Goods, your athletic specialist. Also by McDonald's of Barberville, Vesio Sports Fields, Hope's Lumber Company of Barberville, Barberville Utilities, and the National Management Resources Corporation. This is the Bulldog Sports Network on the home for Union Athletics, WYWI 93.3, and online at GoUnionBulldogs.com. Now for the voice of the Bulldogs, John North.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network, live from Robeson Arena on the campus of a beautiful Union College for today's college matchup between Union College and Kentucky Christian University. Kentucky Christian 6-15 on the year. Union coming in at 16-4, 10-1 in their respective conference, as Union has scored triple digits in not one, not two, not three, but the last 4 games. Bulldogs are on a roll. Kentucky Christian, a very young team in NAIA Division II. They're an independent, not in the Mid-South, in collegiate basketball, but nonetheless, Union will look to take care of business before they back in to conference against Milligan. That'll be this Wednesday at Milligan. It'll be a good one, but Union got to take care of business here today. They've been putting on a show here from Robeson Arena the last couple of games. See if they can continue that today. Hello again, everyone. I am the voice of the Union College Bulldogs, John North. A big hello to all of our friends, family, and alumni. Joining me on the broadcast, Jonathan Riddle couldn't be here today, so next man up is none other than Mr. Mason Elam. Mason, glad to have you on.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, John North.
No problem. I mean, you've been watching this team quite a bit as well, and it just seems like they've kind of hit another level.
Oh, they really have. We were talking about it before we came on. This team just seems like whatever they do is just cool, calm, and collected. This layup line they're going through right now is just, like I said, it's like they're goofing around, but they're really not. I mean, it's what makes them a good team, and then they all get along well from the first player off the bench to the last player off the bench. They just get along. They're a good group of guys.
Yeah, you're around the student body more than I am, but to me it seems every time I see these guys out, they're usually always together, whether it's in the lunchroom, walking around campus, you always see this core group together. And I've said it before, I think that is very underrated in the fact that, good teams are like that. Good teams are a brotherhood. There's no dissension on the team, and it just speaks volumes about the team that a guy like Dominique Hagans could just pop in on a team at Christmas, and it doesn't look out of the ordinary at all.
No, not at all. I mean, it looks like this kid's been playing with this team the whole year, or the last 3 years for that matter, because he is a senior. So, I mean, like you said, it is just really cool to see a kid like this and, with his talent level just step on a team who has talent of their own and start right away. I mean, it's like you said, it's impressive. And you're right, a lot of these guys do live in Pfeiffer, which is the male dorm on campus, besides a few. So they do hang out together quite a bit. I mean, regardless of them going to class, having classes together, they're always together. You said it yourself best.
Yeah, and I think they take on a struggling Kentucky Christian team here today, and I just think it's maybe a little bit of a tune-up matchup before they'll go into the meat of their schedule. As Mason, they'll take on Kentucky Christian here today. They'll go at Milligan on the 28th, and then they'll take on Tennessee Wesleyan here next Saturday. That's on the 31st, and then they'll take on Berea here February 2nd. So, tough 3 games ahead for Union, but the way they've been playing, it's going to be tough to slow them down. I mean, we saw probably the slowest start all year against Montreat here on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden, you have J.D. Tucker out of the ball game. You have Deante Johnson in foul trouble. You have a couple of guys that didn't show up in the first part of the game, and Fitzgerald White, he had a slow start, to say the least. And you still win the game 109-74. So it's going to be tough to stop this Bulldogs train that seems to be heading into the AAC tournament later on. But I think we saw some things against Montreat that other teams can take and use against this Bulldog team. And I think one of those is you have to get off to a very good start against this team.
Yeah, I feel like, Montreat, I'm not sure where they're ranked in the conference, but I know Montreat is there, just above point in the conference rankings. But I'm sure this team probably walked into the game thinking, this isn't going to be a huge game. We're going to walk in here, walk out with an easy win. And I'm sure that's what led to that slow start. And Coach Burton kind of, took that early timeout within the first, 2 minutes and got his team back together and pretty much lit the fire. And from there on out, after that timeout, there was no turning back. And you mentioned it, the foul trouble is a big thing that I've noticed from the Bulldogs this second half of, second half of the season. DeAndre Stevens had 4 fouls in that first half. I mean, I know Coach Burton took the risk to leave him out there, but you got to know how many fouls you have, and you can't get yourself in 4 fouls in the first half. So, but I mean, like you said, it didn't matter in the course of the game, but it might matter in like an AAC tournament, or if you make it back to Branson, it might matter in a game like that. So, and we found out last year with Deante Johnson that he was in foul trouble for so long that he said himself, I forgot how many fouls I even had. So you can't really allow yourself to get in that bad of foul trouble as a team. So it's a growing pain. Every team has them.
And we talk about the struggling Kentucky Christian that comes in, and, Union may I don't know if you put a line on this game. We're not Vegas by any means, but, Union probably 15 or so points better than this Kentucky Christian team based on common opponents. I know Asbury beat this Kentucky Christian team pretty badly. Berea really put it on this team. Union only lost to Berea by a couple. So, you got to take care of business against teams that you know that you can beat. But, not only that, but you got 2 pretty tough conference games coming up. But what I was saying, my point back to Kentucky Christian, I digress, was this team traveled all day from Grayson. They had car problems. They only get 20 minutes to warm up or less because they weren't out there when they put 20 back up on the clock.
Right.
It's going to be very tough for them to get acclimated to this gymnasium. So they have to weather the early storm from Union, or it could get ugly quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, like you said, this is a team that Union should come in, show up. If they play like they know they can, this will be an easy game. They'll get in and out, and they'll move on to what I do believe it's Milligan on Wednesday, right?
Yep.
That game will be a lot of fun, whether you end up going or someone ends up going or not. It'll be a lot of fun because Milligan is the second team in the conference right now, and if Union could do what they did to the other team, who was it with his title was second in the conference? Brian.
Yep.
At one time. And Truett McConnell too, that was tied for second. I mean, if they can there's not a team in this conference, I think, that can stop this team right here on the floor.
Yeah, I kind of talked about that too. When you get in the tournament, weird things happen because Union's going to be playing at odd times. They're going to be playing at 8 a.m. in the morning. They're going to be playing at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So you're not playing like you usually are. But that being said, here in the regular season, I think these guys are really dialed in, and it's going to be tough to beat them. That being said, Milligan did beat Union earlier in the year here at home, but Union has been deadly after Christmas under Coach Burton. I mean, last year they turned it on, and the same this year. So we're going to step out and take a break for the national anthem, and then we'll be back with starting lineups. You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network now for starting lineups. First for Kentucky Christian, number 10, Tyler Carrier, the 5'10 sophomore out of Winchester, Kentucky. Number 14, Caleb Ford, the 6'3 sophomore out of Berry, Kentucky. A lot of local flavor on this Kentucky Christian team. Number 33, Ace Puckett, the 6'3 senior out of Oliveville, Kentucky. And at number 52, Boyce Wooten, the 6'6 sophomore out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I missed one. I'll get him when he takes his warm-up off. The Knights are coached by Grady Lowe and assisted by Travis Cook. And now for your Union College Bulldogs. As first, number 54, Deante Johnson, the 6'8 senior out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Number 33, Gerard Newby, the 6'6 sophomore out of Lexington, Kentucky. Number 32, Dominique Hagans, the 6'3 senior out of Lexington, Kentucky. Number 5, Fitzgerald White, the 6'7 senior out of – no, Fitzgerald isn't starting. Missed him. Instead, it's Kapinga. Thank you. They switched it up on me. Number 15, David Kapinga, the 5'11 freshman out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And number 31, DeAndre Stevens, the 5'10 junior out of Cincinnati, Ohio. So – Coach Burton, it's as quickly, I'll get your thoughts on it, Mason. I know you're working for me right now. But we sit opposite of the benches here in Robeson Arena. Union in their home orange, black lettering, white numerals, black stripes down the side with the U on the high shorts. Kentucky Christian in their black with red trimming, red numerals and the letters. As Union will step in here against Kentucky Christian, 20 minutes up on the clock. Getting a little late start for you, but starting nonetheless. Was slated for a 2 p.m. tip. Instead, Kentucky Christian got here a little late due to some traveling difficulties. As Mason, it's not that big of a deal when, who starts for Coach Burton, because he makes subs in and out so quickly that it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I mean, like you said, I imagine within the first minute we'll see a sub somewhere down the line, especially if they start like they did against Montreat. But, Kapinga getting the start instead of Fitzgerald White. But like you said, this is a team where our first 5 or 6 guys off the bench, maybe your whole bench could start somewhere else in the AAC. But, like you said, Kapinga, a good basketball player, as Deante Johnson lays it up and in for 2 for Union, so Union off to a quick 2-0 lead. But this is a team that it doesn't matter who starts. These 5 guys on the floor could sit today and start 5 others, and it wouldn't matter. And the team will still work the same way.
2-0 lead for Union out front for Ford. Ford looks up, almost stolen away by Newby as attacking. It's Puckett. Puckett shoots it up, no good. Hagans pulls down the rebound. It's a jump ball. Puckett quickly tied Hagans up. Hagans doesn't like the call,
That was kind of a quick whistle, John. I mean, didn't have two hands on the ball for very long for that whistle.
So inbounding will be Ford on the baseline, a 6'3 sophomore. He looks for a cutting Wooten, don't get him. Now kicks it out. Union's going to quickly trap it. It's stolen away by Kapinga temporarily, but picked back up. And now dish over. 3 ball on the way for Ford. Back iron, no good. Two-handed rebound pulled down by Deante Johnson. Hagan quickly fires ahead to Stevens. Stevens thought about the pull-up. Now step back, lobs it inside to Newby. Newby bump back out to Stevens. 3 ball straight away, no good. Back iron, and Hagens tries to pull down the rebound. It's left for Wooten as Wooten tips it back into Farley. Farley brings it into the front court. Skip pass over on the far side. He's got a man in Ford. Ford backs up. Looks for a cutting backdoor Wooten. Doesn't get him. Instead goes out front to Farley as Kentucky Christian's going to try to reset. Coming around up top. And now back out front is Puckett. I have a number 10 on my roster. There he is. Tyler Carrier. Thank you. Not in order as Kapinga is going to get the steal. Kapinga, two-hand chest pass ahead to Hagan. Hagan's in the open court. Reverse layup. Won't go. Farley pulls down the rebound, and quickly the outlet pass goes to Carrier. Carrier over to Wooten. Elbow jumper, no good. Kapinga gets the rebound. Kapinga played great against Montreat. Was a nice spark plug along with Tyler Wagner. Stevens across the middle now dishes it to Johnson, who puts it up and in for 2. Stevens and Johnson always on the same page. Nice dish from Stevens.
And, John, people will think just because they're both from Cincinnati, Ohio, that they've played together their whole lives. But, in fact, Johnson went to Sycamore and Stevens went to Princeton, 2 totally different areas of Cincinnati. And they, been playing however long they've been here, and they're just, like you said, always on the same page.
Reverse layup won't go for Kentucky Christian. No-look pass to Hagens, who tries to dish it to Johnson. And, that's a point that we'll talk about, I think, later on in the year as inside, almost thrown away by Kapinga. Tremaine Elias is going to come in the ballgame. But that time Hagens could have just went up for an easy left-handed layup, decided to try to dish it off to Johnson, turn it over. And that's kind of what Coach Burton has been telling Hagens is, it's okay to go want to score, but Hagens is a pass-first point guard and always wants to hook his teammates up.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was thinking it the whole time you were talking was pass. He's a pass-first point guard.
Yes.
And a bigger point guard. He is. I don't know what he's listed as roster-wise, but he's one of the taller point guards in the league.
6'3", Hagens is listed at as Johnson tracks down the offensive board. He clears everybody out. He wants to take it himself and goes and lays it in.
He called his own number on that one. That was pretty impressive as a big man getting well outside the block and calling his own number to the hole.
Fitzgerald White over on the bench is making fun of Johnson, saying clear out. But Johnson knew he could take the bigger Wooten to the rack, and that time he did. Johnson calling his own number. 6-0 lead for Union over Kentucky Christian. Puckett's got it out front, looking ahead, and now Kapinga gets a paw on it and tips it out of bounds, almost knocks over Mike Buter, who's ready to check in. So Kapinga comes out, Buter comes in. Again, there's really no starters for this Union team.
You've seen pretty much anyone and everyone start this year.
And I think you hit it best. You can, 1 through 12, you can put any of the combination of 5 you want to out there, and it's a good enough starting lineup to, have the same record they've got right now.
I agree. I even think, Kruger, Dalton Whitney came in early last game. I even think Danny Fernandez could come in and start, and I still think this team would be just as good if, I'm not going to say better because how can you get better than this team?
That's how deep this team really is. Over on the wing for Ford, looks inside to Wooten, goes up against Johnson and puts it up and in on him. Kentucky Christian finally on the board. Took them 4 minutes. Buter quickly the other way. Union trying to strike in transition as Buter goes right into Wooten. And that was a case of the smaller guy going up against a jumping big guy. Had Wooten just stood there and kept his hands up, probably wouldn't have been a foul, but since he left his feet, easy call for the official to make. 6-2, Union leads it.
And I also think that's something that's seen from Buter. That's a maturity level. Because last year, I think if Buter would have seen that and seen a bigger player leave his feet like that, he probably would have dished it over to a wide-open Stevens who was in the corner. No one near him. But Buter matured as an athlete and gotten stronger as an athlete, too, and went straight up into the contact and sinks both free throws.
8-2, Union leads it. Fitzgerald White going to come in the contest, give Hagens a blow. So Union with some fresh bodies out there on the floor. Also Tyler Wagner in as well. Kentucky Christian yet to go into their bench. As Carrier has it, quickly goes ahead to Puckett into the front court for Farley. Farley, corner for the 3, air ball. And now Fitzgerald White in transition into the front court. Dishes off to Buter. Buter goes up from the left block, powers it up. It won't go as Tremaine Elias tries to tip it to himself. Can't do it as Kentucky Christian comes away with the ball. Carrier over the timeline, guarded by Stevens. He puts it on the deck, tries a crossover, has to pick up his dribble. Trap, nowhere to go with it. Backdoor cut to Puckett, who goes and lays it in for 2. This Kentucky Christian offense resembles the Princeton top offense of constantly looking for those backdoor cuts as Wagner thinks about a long 3 from the left wing. Instead, just run some offense.
John, after the last game against Truett, I wouldn't put anything past Tyler Wagner at all.
Buter underneath the basket there off the backdoor cut of his own. Puts it in there. As now Kentucky Christian in the front court. Carrier looks inside. Now he's trapped once again over here on the right wing, but finds Puckett. Puckett can't get backdoor that time. Now behind the back dribble for Farley. He goes and dishes off to Wooten, who puts it up with contact. No good. Buter's there for the rebound. Across the timeline. Dishes over to Stevens on the left wing. Stevens, step back 3 on the way. Rims out. Tipped around, and Puckett pulls down the board. He's trapped and has to dribble out. Quickly fires one ahead and now over in the corner for Carey. Underneath the Wooten, it won't go, but there's a foul on the ground.
I think they're going to. He pointed.
Yeah.
He had 2 fingers up in the air like it was on the shot. He is going to give him 2 shots. That was kind of a late whistle, John.
A late whistle, but Wooten, I thought he should have got fouled the last time he went up for 1. So that time he did get the whistle and going to go to the line for 2.
And, John, something I've noticed, too, you won't see the same person bring them, unless Dominique Higgins is on the floor, which he's getting ready to come back in. But you won't see the same person for Union bring the ball up the floor, which is what I love. You can see Tyler Wagner bring it up 1 possession, Fitzgerald White bring it up another possession, other than really Tremaine Elias, Deante Johnson. But you usually don't see those guys bring the ball up the floor. But when it comes to the 1 through 4, who knows who's going to bring the ball up the floor? And I think that's another thing that makes them kind of deadly.
Yeah, everybody on this team thinks they're a point guard. So.
Well, Fitzgerald White told us last year he's a 6'8" guard. He's not a 6'8"
did.
big man.
So Wooten makes the first. Going up for the second now. Won't go. Rims out. Higgins takes the rebound away from White. Higgins quickly crosses half court down the lane. Lays it up. No good. Tries to play through the contact of Wooten, but can't do it. Carrier across the timeline. Guarded by Mike Buter. Now out front to Ford. Ford hounded by Elias, who fights through the screen of Wooten and traps. Gets it to Carrier. Carrier looks for Puckett, but he's got his back turned. Instead, Carrier's going to drive and dribbles it off of his foot. As the defense holds true for Mike Buter as he forces a turnover. First sub into the ball game for Kentucky Christian, Zach Scott, the 6-foot freshman out of New Liberty, Kentucky. He's going to replace number 22, Tyler Farley. 10-5, Union has doubled up Kentucky Christian early. Union kind of gone quiet offensively. Higgins goes around the screen. Now Elias going to rise and fire. Back iron, no good. Rebound pulled down by Ford. Coming across the timeline will be Ford, and he's tripped up and is fouled. So Kentucky Christian will have it out front.
They're going to give the foul to Higgins, I do believe, on that. Scott looked like he was ready to come in and play as soon as he got on the floor. He brought that ball up pretty quick and left Higgins a little bit standing there. That's, I think, what drew him the foul because he just tripped over Higgins' foot.
Carrier drives left and now kicks it back out to Scott. Scott trying to clear out, gets a screen from Puckett. Elias switches as they get it into Wooten left of the lane. Now they swing it back out to Ford. Ford attacks, spins at the free throw line, gets in the air, puts it up for Scott. Scott's shot rattles around, but White pulls down the rebound and gets a quick outlet pass to Buter. Buter, right wing, dishes it to White. Now dishes it to Johnson, and they're going to call a foul on the pass from White. Good penetration there and court vision by Fitzgerald White.
And, John, if I could sit up here with a stopwatch and time how fast Union it is at getting the ball across half court after a rebound like that, it's probably the fastest I've seen it in the 2 years I've been here because I know they definitely didn't go that fast last year.
White with a no-look pass into Higgins, who goes up and he's fouled. So Dominique Higgins will go to the line for 2. Higgins, again, joined the team after Christmas and hasn't missed a beat since. His conditioning maybe not up to par because he hasn't played in a collegiate game all last semester, but it'll get there as he gets both free throws to go. Is Dalton Whitney going to come back into the contest and replace Johnson?
And, John, if you would have told me that when I first got here for the semester, I probably would have told you you're insane because it doesn't look like Higgins has not played basketball in however long. He's not missed a beat like you said.
Kentucky Christian breaks the press. Scott has it, and back tap by Higgins. Whitney has it. Quickly fires ahead to Higgins. Goes up for the jam. Showtime for Higgins in the open floor as it's quickly 14-5 now. Scott brings it across the timeline. And this is what gets Higgins going. When he gets in transition, then his defense picks up. It's just one right after the other. Kentucky Christian tries to go backdoor. Puckett finally finds Ford, goes up for the three, and he's fouled by Elias.
And that's one of those cases where Elias's lengthy arms and taller frame got him in trouble. Is he contested the shot but couldn't really control himself to go through the shooting Ford.
So Ford to the charity stripe. Union leading at 14-5 for those listening. 12:55 remaining in the first half as Ford's first one goes. Stevens and Johnson both set to check in, as well as Farley for Kentucky Christian. Next one on the way, good. He'll get one more as he was fouled on that three-pointer. 14-7, now your score.
And here goes Coach Burton playing the offensive-defensive game already as Dalton Whitney came in for that defensive rotation as going to play more of a defensive role, and now Deante Johnson going to come back in and play the offensive role.
So Ford knocks down all three. Now Scott going to try to guard Higgins full court. I don't know if this is a great idea, but we'll see. Hand off to White. White gets a screen from Johnson. Attacks, right lane, throws it up, no good. Almost lost his balance and went down, but another foul on Kentucky Christian. It's going to be White going to the line. And like to see the aggression driving the basketball for Union, as I thought they settled for a couple of long three-pointers there that shouldn't have. They're a lot more athletic than Kentucky Christian. Get up and down the floor a lot easier. And as you're seeing with Kentucky Christian, just fouling because they can't do anything else at the moment.
Yeah, this is a Union team that's well-conditioned. It doesn't seem like, I mean, granted, they're not out on the floor for very long with Coach Burton's constant substitutions, but this is a team that's well-conditioned. This team could probably stay on the floor for a long period of time and not get tired.
Chaffins comes into the ball game for Kentucky Christian as Ford has it right in front of Coach Burton. He's trapped, doesn't really have anywhere to go with it. Stevens guarding him, gives it off to Puckett. Puckett got Elias in the air, drives, dishes it off baseline to number 13, Scott, and looks like Scott is going to be not fouled, but it's tipped out by a Bulldog, so it'll belong to Kentucky Christian on the baseline. Fitzgerald White comes out, Kapinga comes back in. So 3 guards on the floor here for Union. Maybe a smaller lineup with Kapinga and Stevens and Higgins. So it's going to be Ford to inbound. Looks to Puckett instead. Gets it out to a curling Farley who shoots the three. It's no good. Elias comes up with the rebound and quickly gets it off to Kapinga. Kapinga across the midcourt over to Stevens. Stevens holds up across the free throw line. Leaves it for Elias. Elias triple team. Going to go up anyway. No good. Almost comes down with his own rebound, but it's tipped to Scott. So Chaffins out front, guarded by Johnson. And now Puckett gets him to gets Elias to gamble, goes down, tries to lay it in, but he's fouled by Deante Johnson. So Puckett going to go to the charity stripe for 2. Puckett awaiting the official to give him the ball. There we go. As Tyler Wagner set to check in. First one up for Puckett. Good.
John North, I asked Tyler Wagner before the game if he was going for 30 tonight after his outing a couple nights ago, but he said, no, I'm just going to try to distribute the ball and get as many assists as I can.
I will say Tyler Wagner had that offensive outpour against Montreat, and really as that one, both of those goes for Puckett, and it'll make it 14-10. Union with the lead, but all of it came in the flow of the offense as Hagan goes down to layup, won't go. Johnson gets the offensive rebound and puts it back up and in. 16-10 for a Union. Union off to a slow start, but as I said, all of Wagner's points kind of came in the flow of the offense. He didn't really force anything. Puckett gets it guarded by Wagner. Puckett goes by Wagner, but is cut off. And now calls a timeout. Doesn't have anywhere to go with it, so good defense by Tyler Wagner to cause Kentucky Christian to burn a TO. 16-10, 11-13 left in the first half. We'll step out and take a break and be back. You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network. Union with a 16-10 lead over the visiting Kentucky Christian Knights. Kentucky Christian plays in the Mid-South in football. They're independent in basketball. As Ford has it on the baseline and dribbles on the end line, and it will be Union's basketball. Not what you want out of a timeout.
No, not at all. It's one of those things. I'm pretty sure that's not what
got to drive a coach crazy.
Coach over there drew up on the bench.
So across the timeline comes Union, leading it 16-10. Hagens across, feeds it into Johnson, who has a hard time getting it right of the lane. Just kicks it out to Kapinga. Kapinga, step back, crossover dribble, and going to be a foul on Scott, who just had to put both hands on Kapinga. About all you can do. Kapinga very explosive off the dribble and yo-yoed that ball back and forth right in front of Scott. He couldn't get a hand on it. Hagens now looks inside, lobs it up for Kapinga. Kapinga to Wagner. Wagner pump fake, step back three on the way. Got it!
That was a nasty move, John.
Three ball by Wagner there. The step back. Maybe get a little shove in the back of Puckett there, but we'll let that one go. 19-10 is your score. Union on top. Puckett out front straight away. Now the ball's on the ground. Hagens got it in the open court to Steven. Steven lobs it up. Hagens with a dunk! 21-10. That'll get the crowd on their feet as Stevens let that ball hang up there forever, but Hagens threw it down with authority.
John, that's something we saw Stevens and Hagens try multiple times the other night, but couldn't successfully get done, but he got it done there.
Puckett with a three ball for the answer. Quickly the other way goes Johnson, tipped around, and Puckett gets the steal. Puckett in the open court. Quickly with the dish off to Farley. Farley attacks, but Wagner skies for the block.
And, John, I'm going to say this fast-paced game, as I've said it in girls' games, I've said it in guys' games, it really favors Union, which is true. I mean, in both women's and men's basketball, a faster-paced game favors Union's side.
Yeah, and I think that's what has kept Kentucky Christian in the ball game thus far. Here with 9:54 remaining, it's 21-12. But what's kept them in the ball game so far is this slow pace, this grinded-out offensive mentality, and they're really playing fearless against Union. As splitting the double team as Carrier down the lane throws it out to nobody. Thought somebody was going to be in the corner, but it's a turnover. Union will take over. 9:43 remaining in the first half. 21-12 your score. Hagens brings it over the timeline, dishes off to Watt. Watt over the top to Johnson. Johnson gathers. Reverse layup and one for Johnson. And that's the footwork that Deante Johnson really didn't have in his repertoire last year and the year before, but he's really worked on it. And that's a move he can put away a defender with, and that time got the and one. So make it 24. I didn't want to jinx him, but he's also improved his free throw stroke. 24-12. Union's opened this one up. 9:33 remaining as Carrier brings it over the timeline. Looks to the near side for Farley. He's double teamed. Not skip pass, though. Got a man over on the left side. Puts it up, blocked by Newby. It was Matthew Lee who was subbed in. As Hagens takes it quickly the other way. No good. Johnson puts up the offensive board. Up and in, and now Hagens gets a steal on the baseline. Goes up, lays it up. No good, but a follow by Fitzgerald White. As good as a lob there as the miss from Hagens. 28-12.
John North, it's in the shoes as Hagens and Fitzgerald Whites both wear the same shoes.
What kind of shoes are those?
They're Jordans of some sort. I'm not sure of the name. Thanks, though, John.
As the 3-ball on the way for Farley is good. Kentucky Christian continues to answer the run by Union. 28-15 now. Hagen brings it over the timeline, and when the defense gets going, it kind of spurs the offense and vice versa for this Union team. Hagens looks inside over to Stevens. Stevens lets it bounce once, guarded by Puckett. Tries to cross him over. It's not Puckett, it's number 22, Farley, as Stevens takes it, thought he was fouled, but referees just said it was out of bounds, so Union will have it on the baseline.
And, John, I've said this multiple times. I'm not sure if I've said it on air, though, but Deante Stevens is one of those quote-unquote and one basketball players, but he does it in a sense of he still looks for the open player.
Yeah.
It's not all about him.
Lob for Newby, who puts it up with contact, no good, as Chaffins pulls down the rebound, quickly fires a pass ahead. And a pull-up jumper from Farley is good, right in the grill of Johnson. 28-18. Union goes on a run. It was 28-12. Kentucky Christian put together a little mini run of their own. Stevens thought about the three. Dishes out to White all day to shoot it and does. No good front iron as the ball is tipped around and finally brought down by Farley. Farley across the timeline, driving to his left, guarded by Hagens. And now Puckett with the thought about the three. Dishes inside to Chaffins, who puts it up on Johnson. It won't go. Puckett tried to follow it. It's no good, and they're going to say the basket counts as it's going to be interference by Union. I'm not sure who got a hold of the rim there, but it was.
I'd say I think Coach Burton's trying to say that Kentucky Christian's player did it. I'm not.
I thought so too.
I thought the same thing. I'm not sure that any one of Union's players grabbed the rim. I mean, not to be a color thing, but I don't think there's a white person on the floor for Union that could get the rim because I don't think Peter could get up that height. He just came in.
I'm with you, and I don't know. I didn't see it. It's too fast for me to know who did it, but I'll take Burton's word for it as Johnson gets it inside and easily puts it up and in on Puckett. Puckett, the 6'3 senior out of Olive Hill, has some bulk to him, but is no match for Deante Johnson. As Johnson captured the AAC Player of the Week award for the fourth time in his 3-year career on Monday after leading the Bulldogs to a pair of dominating AAC victories over Reinhardt and Truett McConnell. And he's been that type of player this year as Stevens quickly goes ahead. He's got players in place, and now over to White on the baseline. Thought about the three. Know it pass inside to Newby, who bobbles it but puts it up with his left hand. Won't go. Johnson pulls down the rebound and puts it up and in. Deante Johnson has had a killer's mentality that he has never had before as a Bulldog. 32-20. Union leads it. Wild-looking shot by number 14, Ford. Can't get it to go, but gets his own rebound and puts it back up. And still a 10-point advantage for Union. Dish from White to Newby, who tried to cram it. Should have just laid that one in, but it was a nice pass by White. Won't go. Over in the corner, Kentucky Christian attacks. Floating jumper on the baseline, won't go. Puckett pulls down the rebound, but stepped on the end line. It'll belong to Union. Tremaine Elias coming back into the ball game. He'll replace Newby. Now Wagner up off the bench as well.
I think this Kentucky Christian team just taking a little bit of time to wake up a little bit. I mean, in the beginning of the game, missing shots maybe they should have made, or taking shots maybe they shouldn't have. But I think, like you said, transportation issues are never a good thing on a team, especially when they can't get here and warm up. As Tyler Wagner's going to take a three and miss this one.
Yeah, missed that one as now Buter gets his hand on a behind-the-back dribble on Farley, but they're going to say Farley just lost the ball. So Union will have it right in front of the bench for Kentucky Christian. As slipping a drink of water there was Matthew Lee. I like that. White tries to find Buter. Does, but it rolls all the way to the opposite side of the court to Wagner. Wagner to Stevens, and now Union going to reset. And I thought Kentucky Christian would come out, would be it'd be tough for them to get into the ball game, but they played very well here in the first half. And, credit to Kentucky Christian. I don't think Union has played that badly at all. I mean, it's all Kentucky Christian as a floater goes in the lane for Farley.
That might have been some spotty defense there, but like you said, Union hasn't played a bad basketball game.
As White goes down and lays it up and in for two. 34-24, lead back to 10 for Union. It's been as high as 14 at one point. As now a timeout for Coach Lowe. His team's played really well, still down by 10 though, with 5:23 remaining in the first half. 34-24 is your score. We'll be back. You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network. I think Coach Burton's still talking about that offensive interference. It was called defensive interference with the basket, but he wanted an offensive interference from Kentucky Christian. Score is 34-24, 5:22 remaining. As ahead of everybody, easily breaking the press was Kentucky Christian and laying it up and in. Number 22, Tyler Farley. Kentucky Christian team, pretty fun to watch. Elias gets it in, and now he's hacked as he's going up for two. Committing the foul there was Caleb Ford. 34-26 with 5:09 remaining here in the first. Kentucky Christian executed their game plan thus far to near perfection. Still down by 8 here. Tremaine Elias to the line to try to extend it back to 10. First one up and good for Elias.
John North, you know how I am about shoes, and just looking at Tremaine Elias' shoes takes me back to when I first walked in the gym and I looked at David Kapinga and said, "You do realize our team's colors aren't red?" And he looks around and sees a few other players on the floor wearing red shoes. He goes, "I guess our team's just colorblind."
Elias misses the next one. As Carrier will bring it across the timeline. Buter guards him close. Carrier attacks to the right, picks up his dribble straight away, looks for a backdoor cut from Ford, but getting a hand on it was Hagens, who pokes it to White. White down the middle, dishes it off to Wagner. Open three on the way, no good. Elias pops in for the rebound, but he can't gather it. Tipped it and tried to tip it to himself, but it goes right to Matthew Lee. And now to Carrier, angling over to the right. Dishes over to Ford. Ford thinks about the three, now backs it back out. And now hands it off back to Carrier. Three ball on the way over on the far wing from Farley, no good. Ford gets it. Buter gets a hand on it, but can't get the steal as it goes out of bounds. It'll belong to Kentucky Christian on the baseline as Johnson going to sub back in for Wagner. 35-26, 4:22 remaining in the first half. Ford will inbound it. Way out front to Carrier. Carrier guarded by White. Union sinking back into that zone. As they skip past it over to Lee right in front of the Union bench. Now back out front to Carrier at the timeline. 17 to shoot. They get it over to Lee. Lee attacks baseline and loses it off of his hands out of bounds. Saw the big man Johnson running at him and just kind of panicked as he was going to go up to float that one in. Loses it off of his, just off his fingertips and out of bounds. 35-26, Union controls it here against Kentucky Christian. Hagens off to Elias. Elias back out front to Buter. Buter between the circles, gives it back to Hagens. Hagens circling and kicks it back out to White and now to Hagens, over to Buter. Buter looks on the baseline to Elias, who puts it up, can't get the bunny to go, and Lee pulls down the rebound. Ford in the open court, dishes it off to Farley, who tries to go lay it in, but it's stolen away. White with the basketball. White between the circles. No look pass over to Buter. Rise and fire. No good. As Lee pulls down the rebound. Hasn't been Union's best game offensively here today. As out front with it is Carrier. Union trying to amp up the defense. Ball on the ground for Lee. Johnson was a little slow getting out. Lee realizes the mismatch, thought about the three, leaves it for Puckett. Puckett has a hard time coming away with it as now he goes down the lane wide open and lays it in. Coach Burton wants to talk about it with a timeout. 35-28, 3:04 remaining in the first half. We'll step out and take a break and be back. You're listening to the Bulldogs Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldogs Sports Network. 35-28 after that full timeout for Coach Burton. 3:04 remaining in the first half, and Kentucky Christian has gotten straight off of the bus or whatever they got here in and has taken it to the Bulldogs here early. Union has played, if they have been playing badly, Mason, Kentucky Christian could have the lead right now, but like I said, Union has played pretty well, and up 35-28 as Hagan takes it baseline, misses it, gets his own rebound, and puts it back up and in for two. Got to be careful there, slapping the ball afterwards. Don't want to get a delay of game warning. Nonetheless, 37-28. Scott out front. Off to Lee. Let's see if Union will get a little more pressure defensively. Forward, wide open three, top of the key. Can't get it to go. Johnson and Hagan battles for the rebound. And now Johnson almost throws it away on the outlet pass. Johnson had Hagan right beside him, instead tried to go out. And it was tipped away. Hagan's going to bring it over the timeline. Gets it off to White. White back to Hagens. Hagens attacks baseline, swings it to Buter, but it's tipped on the baseline and out of bounds.
A little girl down there on the baseline just about lost her popcorn. And she had no idea the ball was coming at her.
They have to finalize that DVD, Mason.
Okay, I got you, John.
As Buter out front to Hagens. Hagens double team, gets it off to Buter. Buter over to White, attacks baseline, dishes into Johnson, tipped around and stolen away by Kentucky Christian. Over the timeline and puts it on the deck is number 22, Farley, stolen away by Union temporarily, and finally Elias gets it but can't hold on to it, out of bounds. Kentucky Christian ball. Union didn't have possession of it, but they're going to say Union did, so shot clock resets as Stevens comes back in, Buter comes out. Also coming off the bench, TJ Jones. In for Tremaine Elias.
Jones, one of those players like Dalton Whitney last year, got a lot of playing time here in the first semester, for students-wise, and then here in the second semester, not seeing the floor as much as I'm sure he would like to, but still a key part of this team.
Absolutely. Need a player like him. Across the timeline. Comes Scott. Picks up his dribble. Gives it out front to Puckett. Looks for two cutters backdoor. Doesn't have them. And now 8 to shoot. Fire from Farley. No good. Johnson pulls down a tough rebound. Gets it off to Hagens, who gets it ahead to Stevens. Stevens into the front court to White. White, pull-up jumper on the way. No good. Rims out. Tipped right back out to Stevens. Stevens dish into Jones, who puts it up. And one. Didn't know if they were going to call the and one. They're going to, as Kentucky Christian wanted that one on the ground. So Jones completes the and one play. 39-28. As Newby going to sub in here, as well as number 20, Ross Goodwin, the 5'10 junior out of Mount Eden, Kentucky. So Eli is going to come back in here for Johnson. 39-28. Extra free throw pending here. Won't go, so the score will remain 39-28 with 1:29 remaining. Gets it into the front court for Goodwin. Goodwin backs it out as Elias sneaks up trying to get the steal. Can't do it. It's out front to Lee. Lee gives it to a cutting Ford. Ford dishes out to Farley. Farley attacks baseline. Pull-up jumper. Won't go. Air ball. Elias pulls down the rebound, and Goodwin gets him from behind. No call from the officials. Farley puts it up and in for two. 39-30.
No call from the officials on what I thought should have been like Elias got fouled, but
and
also,
then an AM one, on the other end. I agree with you. As Jones puts it up, no good, and finally fouled from behind by Puckett. 52.7 seconds left. Union Jones will go to the line to try to complete the 2 points here. As if you're Coach Lowe, got to be pretty happy with the way your team's played thus far.
Absolutely, especially having the issues we've talked about the whole first half. I mean, 9-point game in the first half with a team that, I honestly wouldn't expect this game to be a 9-point game and a half.
39-30 as Jones steps to the charity stripe.
Again, that's not taking anything away from
No,
Kentucky
absolutely
Christian.
not. Next one on the way is good. So 40-39. No, just judging by, like we said, judging by locked opponents as Hagans gets it. Open floor, goes down and lays it up and in for two. Amazing how he can split two defenders like that. It's all of a sudden 32-30 now. Was a 9-point ball game 2 seconds ago. And Union really amping it up here in the open court. Get another steal. White, no-look pass over to Elias, who puts it up and in for two. 44-30. And just like that, it's a 14-point ball game, Mason.
Yeah, this press showing Kentucky Christian a little bit of troubles as the Hagans split that double team. They seemingly threw that ball right to Hagans. There was no Kentucky Christian player around. And, Union's long and lengthy, no matter who's on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Jones lengthy, White, Elias, Hagans. Even Stevens for his size is lengthy. You can't really throw anything over the top of Union.
And Goodwin throws it away again. It's White. White down the lane. Behind the back to Jones, who tries to cram it. He can't do it. Hagans gets it and throws it way out front, but ends up throwing it away to Lee. Lee tries to go 2-on-1 as White's going to take his ball away temporarily, and now a shot at the buzzer won't go for Farley. And Union will go into the halftime locker room with a 44-30 advantage over Kentucky Christian. It was a 9-point ball game with 52 seconds to go in the first half, and Union has pushed it on out to 14 at the end of this half, Mason. It just goes to show you that this Union team is capable of breaking off a 6-0, 12-0 run in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. And something we haven't seen from this Union Bulldog team and Coach Burton, that 3-2 kind of matchup, 3-2 zone that we see a lot of as the season's gone on. But we've seen it here and there in this first half, but not a ton. But a lot more of a press later in the first half, which has gotten Union that 14-point lead, which grew from a 9-point lead, even an 8-point lead. But regardless, solid first half from both teams, given Kentucky Christian circumstances.
That being said, we'll step out and take a break here at halftime, about 15 minutes. We'll come back with about 10 minutes left before we get started with second half action with halftime stats. 44-30, Union leads it over Kentucky Christian. We'll be back. You're listening to the Bulldogs Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network. Union 44-30 leaders over the Kentucky Christian Knights at the break. Glad to have all the fans along with us, whether you're a Knight or whether you're a Bulldog. We're glad to have you along for the ride. I said to Mason in the pregame show, I'm jealous for all those out there who got snow because we didn't get anything in Barberville.
Yeah, I was going to say, I told that story before the game. I was up in Lexington last night, and it was crazy how much snow was up there last night. And then on the way back, it slowly but surely turned back into rain, and we didn't get anything.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm really jealous. I saw all the pictures up in the Lexington area, and for those of you who hate snow, you would like to be in Barberville right now. But I'm jealous of all the snow lovers who got snow up in the northern part of the state. Union, of course, off to a slow start. Part of that, the way Kentucky Christian, I thought, held their own on defense. On the offensive end, Union a little slower than usual. 1 for 10 for 3. I know you're going to get the halftime stats for a minute. So missed a lot of their three-pointers. Kentucky Christian executing really well offensively against the defense of Union. So that's really kept them in the ballgame the way they've played thus far. With that being said, though, I'll kick it over to you, Mason, and let you get those halftime stats for us.
All right, John, we'll start off with Kentucky Christian. Scoring-wise for Kentucky Christian, Tyler Farley put up a quiet 12 points. Behind him, Ace Puckett with 8, Caleb Ford with 5, Boyce Wooten with 3, and James Chaffins with 2. They had 15, meaning Kentucky Christian, had 15 turnovers to 8 assists in the first half. Assist-to-turnover ratio for Union, and Union had 10 assists in that first half. So a lot of those turnovers making Union score on the other end, which is not a good thing for Kentucky Christian. Kentucky Christian, 22%, 2 for 9 from beyond the arc. Total field goal percentage, 11 for 29, 38%. And the free throw stripe, 6 for 7, 85%. For Union, Deante Johnson has 17 points. Dominique Hagens with 10. TJ Jones with 3. Fitzgerald White with 4. And Michael Buter also with 4. Tyler Wagner has 3, along with Tremaine Elias also has 3. Deante Johnson has 7 total rebounds, well on his way to yet another triple-double, which is quite
Wait, not another triple-double, right?
Right, just another triple-double. But Union only 10% from beyond the arc in the first half, as they were 1 for 10. From the field, though, they were 44%, 18 for 41. Like I said, Union had those 10 assists as a team and 6 turnovers, and that's it for Union. And the points in the paint differential, Union outscoring Kentucky Christian 24-10 in the paint. And there's been 0 lead changes in this game, so Union's led the game since the tip, basically. And the biggest lead has been Union by 16 at the 9:02 mark in the first half. So there are your halftime stats, John North.
You did well there, Mason. You read the stats through me taking a selfie. So you did really well. I'm surprised you didn't you didn't falter. You played through the contact, so I'm impressed. But Union 44-30 lead at the half. Like you said, Mason, a couple things jump out. Union only 1 for 10 from three-point range. Usually see a lot more of those fall. Union shoots at about a 37% clip, but just can't get it to go today. But Union, of course, a couple of guys, as you said, at the break. Deante Johnson with just 17 points. That's all.
That's it. No.
And that's a quiet 17, I think. But he's 8 for 8 from the field, 1 for 1 from the charity stripe, and I call it a quiet, but he was dealing with one foul. So I know Burton didn't want him to pick up that second, so he was kind of playing him in and out throughout the half there. But nonetheless, Deante Johnson becoming one of the most efficient players in NAIA Division II. I mean,
Absolutely.
He shoots it at about at one point he was shooting at like an 80% clip from the field, and today is just going to keep getting better as Union has found ways to incorporate him into the offense more. And Deante Johnson, I think Coach Burton has really simplified the game for Deante as well. So he doesn't have to catch it in the post and make a bunch of post moves. He's catching it in places he can score, which I think is impressive. With that being said, we'll step out and take a break. About 5 minutes before second half, we'll take that whole 5 minutes. As we'll be back, Union leads it 44-30 at the break. We'll be back for second half action right after this. You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network. 44-30, Union leads it over KCU at the break. About 14 seconds to get started here in second half action. Mason, as I was talking about, Deante Johnson going off of into the break there. 9 points away from his 1,000th point as a Bulldog. Very impressive. Last time Union has a 1,000-point scorer was 2002. That's a long time ago.
I also feel like we've had a ton of those recently. We had Haley Perkins on the women's side.
Oh, women's side, yeah, but men's side, I mean, 2002 since this men's team has had a 1,000-point score. Very impressive, to say the least, as we get started here in the second half of action. Hagens almost loses it. Stevens wide open for the three from the corner. No good back iron. The shooting woes continue for Union, but Johnson pulls down the rebound to White. No look pass inside to Elias, who puts it up and in. Elias getting the start in the second half.
John, I'm telling you, a lot of times DeAndre Stevens is just simply too close. Because he, like you said, you've said it multiple times, once he crosses half court, he's open.
He can shoot it from anywhere. Fadeaway jumper from Ford, and it goes. That's a charity stripe. Nice looking jumper there from Ford. Hagens now attacks, dishes off to Stevens, who gives it off to White, to Elias. Elias with the two, no good. Ford comes away with the board. Ford board, that rhyme. Across the top comes Carrier. Carrier has his ball deflected out of bounds by Elias. And I said it earlier, Mason, but this was a 9-point game with about 52 seconds. 46 to 46 to 32 now. Union has opened it up against Kentucky Christian, but Kentucky Christian very capable of getting back in this one. They've been very, very good offensively. Over the corner for Ford. Gets a man in the air, floats it up, should have got a foul call, but he didn't. Instead, it's Hagens in the open court. Over to Stevens. He's going to lob it up to White, who loses it off of his hand, but saves it before it goes out of bounds. White baseline, leaves it for Johnson, almost turns it over, is on his back, and now doesn't have anybody to give it to. Finally finds Hagens. Hagens dishes over to Stevens. 3-ball on the way. Got it! Bad break there for Kentucky Christian. Had a turnover in their grasp, and instead it's a three-pointer for Union. Back-breaking for the Knights.
John, I have a question, though. If Fitzgerald White lays down with the basketball and sits up off of his back, is that not I'm not sure. Is that not a travel?
So too. And now Stevens gets a steal, quickly going the other way all by himself. Left-hand layup with his right hand goes. 51-32. Just like that. Carrier across the timeline. Comes around a screen from Puckett. Almost has his pocket picked by Stevens, and now they get it over to Farley. Attacks, lays it up and in for two. Nobody cut Farley off. He was the leading scorer for this Knights team in the first quarter. Stevens the other way. 51-32. Hagens out to Stevens from way back. Back iron, no good. Puckett pulls down the rebound and dishes it off to Farley. Trapped at half court, but gets it off to Puckett. Puckett at the elbow, and now out to Ford on the left wing, and now in the corner for Carrier. Carrier out to Ford. Ford attacks and gets fouled by Stevens. Ford says he was shooting. Stevens doesn't think he fouled him. So it'll be Ford to the line for two. First one up and good. 51-35 as Wooten comes out. In comes number 11. And number 11, was Lee. And now Wagner comes in for Elias. Stevens out and Buter in. Next one up. Both of them good for Ford. 51-36 is your score. Hagens brings it across the timeline into the front court. Coach Burton calls out the play. Over to Buter. Buter looks inside of Johnson. Doesn't get him. Instead goes to White on the skinny right wing. Skip pass straight away. Wagner, 3-ball. Got it! Wagner has been unconscious from three in the last two games. 54-36. Union trying to push this lead to 20. They haven't been able to yet. The Knights have had an answer last couple of times as Lee, guarded by Wagner, puts it on the deck. They swing it out to Ford. He pump fakes, goes by Hagens, puts it up, no good, and Buter comes up with the rebound. Buter now going to lead the break. Crossover dribble into the front court to Hagens. Hagens goes up, lays it in for, no, it won't go. Hagens can't believe he didn't draw a foul on that one on the baseline. 54-36. Ford out to Farley. Spin move on Wagner. Puts it up. No good, but he's fouled and going to go line 4-2. KCU has come out of the half very aggressive, not really settling for the jump shots they were late in that first half. Really trying to drive the ball and draw fouls on Union. So far, it's worked. Farley, first free throw up and no good. Can't leave those points on the board, though, especially when Union trying to push this one to 20.
And you got to be careful if you're Kentucky Christian, because this is a Union team that can put a game out of control real quick.
Got the second one, though. 54-37 now. Hagan straight away over to Buter. Buter looks for White, who feeds it into Johnson. Johnson gathers and dunks. Drop, step, and dunk for Johnson. He's 7 points away from 1,000. Farley quickly the other way. Doesn't have anybody to give it to, but finds Puckett in the middle of the paint, but he misses the bunny, and finally swooping in to get the rebound is Hagans. Hagans ahead to White. White into Johnson. Dunk! 5 points away from 1,000 is Deante Johnson. First time I've really seen Johnson get to open it up in the open court there and throw it down.
So Johnson, not one of those players that usually does that, but he's one of those players that'll drop step on from the block and throw it straight down.
Now Wagner going to get called for the foul on Lee as he had a hold of Lee's jersey. Trying to bait Lee into shoving off, but Lee kept his composure and draws the foul on Wagner instead. Union scoring quicker than I can fix the scoreboard over here as it's 58-37. Back-to-back points for Deante Johnson. He's 5 points away from 1,000. That's the watch we're on now. Carrier thinks about the three, instead gives it to Ford, who's got a smooth stroke, but he misses that one. Lee, the tiniest person on the floor, gets the rebound and almost has it taken away from him by Wagner. Puckett has it, and he's fouled by Hagans from behind.
I kind of disagree with that call. But, again, that's why we're up here.
Exactly. Hagans didn't think he fouled him either. He's having a chat with the referee, and now just backs off as Puckett will go to the line. First one up. Good. Lead back to 20 for Union. Next one on the way for Puckett. Got it. This Kentucky Christian team shoots the free throw very well. Johnson puts this one up. Good. Johnson is perfect from the field, and he's 3 points away from 1,000 points. Looks like he may get it this game. 60-39 is your score.
Let's just say if he doesn't, he has to get either put on the bench or shut down by I don't know who on the floor.
I mean, he's been unstoppable in this ball game so far.
And, John, you talked about it earlier. I'm not sure if it was earlier as in first semester before we left for Christmas break or not, but Coach Burton has said it himself. There's not a single player, I don't believe, in the nation or maybe even or the conference or maybe even the nation that can stop Johnson.
Fadeaway jumper for Puckett goes over the outstretched arm of Johnson and puts it in for two, 60-41. They're going to feed Johnson again. Johnson gathers, goes up to try to dunk it and cram it on Puckett, but he's fouled and going to go to the free throw line. Deante Johnson smelling blood in the water.
What is that? Is he 3 now?
3 points away from 1,000. And would be the first since 2002. I just find that so bizarre, Mason, because the women's team has had so many, but the men's team, the roster's kind of been in flux as now Deante Johnson is 1 away, or 2 away from 1,000. As it's 61-41. Coach Grady Lowe is going to call the timeout. Like to, as always, thank all of our friends, family, and alumni for tuning in here to the broadcast, but want to send a special shout-out to Miss Sherry Payne out there listening in Radio Land. Couldn't be here today, but a big shout-out to Sherry. And don't worry, I'm getting the Deante Johnson 1,000-point countdown for you now. So we're 2 points away, and Johnson will shoot one more free throw when we come back. We'll be back. You're listening to the Bulldogs Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network. Deante Johnson at the line. He's 2 away from 1,000. Make it 1 away from 1,000. As Wagner going to come out to remain Elias, going to sub back into the ball game. Union coming on with the press, leading at 62-41. They give it to Carrier in the open court. Tries to fire it ahead to Ford. They do. Ford spins, goes up against Johnson and puts it up and in. Kentucky Christian's just had to score some tough baskets to go into Elias. Elias back out to Hagan. It's 62-43. Give it to White. White looks inside. Feeds Johnson. This could be it. Goes up and lays it in for 2. And Deante Johnson is a member of the 1,000-point club as a Union Bulldog. Congratulations to that young man. Ford drives, puts it up. Good. Ford once again hitting a tough basket.
John North, you have to wonder, does he even consciously know that he even broke the 1,000-point club?
I don't know. I mean, he's having a heck of a game here today. He's got 20-plus now. As nice move by Buter, goes up with a left-handed layup. Pump fake from the charity stripe, spins to his left, and goes up and lays it with his left hand.
Mike Buter is a big man stuck in a little man's body.
Or an old-school game, maybe.
Or, you know, that too.
66-45. He does have that old man basketball mentality. As Fitzgerald White goes up with a tough rebound. Union in the open court. White dishes off to Buter, and now picks up the charge call.
That's one of those ones that could have been avoided with an earlier pass, but regardless, what are you going to do?
Johnson comes out, so I'm sure he'll be recognized on the next timeout for Union. As out goes Higgins as well. Into the contest comes number 22, Kurt Reuter, Jr. out of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. 13:33 remaining as Carrier goes over to Farley. Farley looks out front to Ford. Now it goes to Wooten, who shoots the jumper in the middle, way off, and it's White who pulls down the rebound. White across the timeline with his head up, looking for Reuter. Gets it to Buter instead. 3-ball on the way, no good. Rebounded by Puckett. Puckett in the air is bumped, but gets it to Farley, who sends it down the sideline to Ford. Ford attacks down the lane, and he's fouled. Going to go line for 2. Tell you, these Kentucky Christian Knights absolutely relentless with driving the basketball. It's what keeping them in this game so far. I know it's 66-45, but they've not allowed Union to really get into the flow of their offense. Don't get to run the floor as much. Really did one of the better jobs this year of taking it to Union on that. Union prides himself on their defense, but Kentucky Christians really find ways to pick that apart, and that's credit to Coach Grady Lowe. Next one up and good as well, 66-47. Kentucky Christian will not allow Union to break this one open. Buter over to Elias, swings it to White. White looks inside to Buter, baseline, puts it up and good, and 1 for Mike Buter. Buter put it up on Farley as Farley fouled Buter, and now Buter's going to go line for 1 more. The old-fashioned three-point play for Mike Buter. We praised Buter a lot on this broadcast last year. Obviously not as prevalent in the offense as he was last year, but you can't keep him off the floor.
No, you really
can't.
Player. Too good of a defensive player. I know he hasn't found his stroke as much as he did last year, but still, like you said, good all-around player, offensive and defensive. I mean, good off-the-ball defense right now from Buter.
And now Puckett out front, close to a 5 seconds, so they call a timeout right before. Does Kentucky Christian call a timeout right before it's a turnover? It's a full timeout. We'll take one as well. 69-47, Union leads, 12:30 remaining in the ball game. We'll be back. You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldog Sports Network. As indeed, as we expected, the next time out, Deante Johnson was recognized for his accomplishment, joining the 1,000-point club here for a Union. Very impressive feat from that young man. Out front is Puckett. Kapinga checked in after that timeout. Reuter still in as well. Tremaine Elias, Buter, and Stevens as Reuter gets a block and tips it right back into Puckett, who attacks, throws it up, and it's going to be a shot clock violation. I don't think it is going to be a shot clock violation.
I think it should have been because the ball was still in his hands.
I don't know if that was what the time was on the shot clock.
True.
If that makes sense. I think they are going to call a shot clock violation. As Kentucky Christian fans not going to be happy with that one. As I don't know one way or another, so I can't take a side. So Kapinga going to get the inbounds pass from Elias. Guarded closely here by Scott. Kapinga brings it over the timeline, fires it to Stevens. Stevens into Johnson. Double team, puts it up. Layup, no good. Wooten pulls down the rebound. Scott fires quickly ahead and attacking is Ford. Puts it up, no good. Puckett temporarily got the rebound. It falls in the hands of Wooten, and now Ford can go the opposite side, shoot a three that's no good. Wooten going to get the board, goes out of bounds, steps on the end line. It will belong to Union. 11:44 left in the ball game. Hagens comes back in. Out goes Kapinga. 69-47, Union leads it over Kentucky Christian. Thought Kentucky Christian would lay down for the Bulldogs after the long trip down here, but they have gotten off the bus ready to play. Is now getting called for the reach-in foul as Scott. He can't believe it, but easy call for the officials to make there.
It was funny to watch Dominique Hagens pretty much post him up on the opposite end and just pretty much show him up the whole way down the floor, saying there's not a chance you're going to get this ball from me.
Hagens going to get it. Again, Scott going to put a lot of pressure in. Again, Hagens just dying to really open it up here against Scott. Instead, just gives it over to Stevens, and now Farley goes down. 3 ball on the way for Stevens. Got it! 72-47. That got the fans here in Robeson Arena. Again, good crowd on hand here from Robeson Arena. Impressed with the student turnout. As Buter thought about tapping that one, but Farley looks really deflated after he hit the deck, and then Stevens hit the 3 ball.
Wouldn't you be?
A little bit. 72-47, 11:08 to play. Hagens brings it over the timeline. Off to Buter. Buter gets a screen from Johnson and uses it. Pull-up jumper, just a step inside the three-point line is no good. Wooten pulls down the rebound. And now Farley tries to bring it up. Instead, just gets it off to Scott. Scott going to bring it over the timeline. Gets a screen from Puckett. This is off to Wooten, who attacks baseline, throws it up for grabs, but Scott comes down with it. It's between Scott and Puckett. Scott looks inside and throws it out to Ford, but Ford was should have zigged when he zagged and out of bounds. Turnover on Kentucky Christian. Reuter back into the ball game. Going to check in for Wagner. Buter going to inbound it, throws it into Hagens. Once again, Scott picks up full court here on Hagens. Hagens ahead to Reuter. Now to Buter. Buter looks inside to Johnson, has him if he wants him, but doesn't want to risk the pass. They get it out to Hagens. Hagens down the lane, floats it up, no good, but it'll be a foul, and Hagens will go to the line for 2. Hagens easily blowed by Scott that time. Probably should have been a foul out front. Referee's going to swallow their whistle, but any time in collegiate basketball when you put 2 hands on a defender out front, it's supposed to be a foul, but that time officials just let it go in a 72-47 lead here for Union. 10:28 to play as Fitzgerald White ready to sub in. I believe, is that going to be 5 fouls?
I think that's what they're signaling, which I think is why the horn was hit so many times.
I think you're right. Carrier comes back in the ball game as Scott's day will be done.
And Buter came off for the Bulldogs when White came in.
Thank you. Thought he was coming in for Hagens, and he wasn't. But Hagens misses the first free throw. Next one on the way, rattles in. 73-47, Union leads it over Kentucky Christian. Over the timeline comes Carrier. Gives it over to Farley. Farley looks to Wooten in the high post and swings it to Puckett back out to Farley. Farley walked with it.
John Scott visibly upset with himself over on the benches when he came out for Kentucky Christian and sat down. I could hear him over the headphones slam the chair. I don't think he's happy with himself on his defensive work on Higgins.
I mean, I know Scott probably thinks pretty highly of himself, but I wouldn't be too upset over not being able to guard Dominique Higgins because there's not going to be many guys in the NAI period that can guard Dominique Higgins. Higgins, guarded by Carrier at the moment, comes across between the circles, gets it off to Stevens. Kentucky Christian out in the man-to-man, really trying to extend out as they go to Johnson, who thinks about the three, over to White. White puts it on the deck, attacks baseline, and he's pushed by Carrier.
And many people will look at that move DeAndre Stevens just pulled, saying, should it be an offensive foul for him pushing off on the defender? He doesn't really push off of the defender. He just kind of puts his hand there and moves back. It's not that he pushes off of the defender.
In a close game, though, they'll call that a push-off every time.
They will.
Yeah. Inside to Johnson. Johnson is hacked, and people are all over him there, as I think Kentucky Christian just fouling to try to get back into this game under 10 minutes and hoping that Union misses some free throws. Johnson to the charity stripe. Not sure. Again, we don't have our
big board.
Yeah, our big board up. First one up and good. I can find out, though.
So we do know that he had 17 at half with 7 boards. I'm sure he's well broken that
double now. So we'll check on it here in just a second. As Johnson, first shot he's missed today was that free throw, 74-47.
Which doesn't count as a field goal attempt, though.
Exactly, so he's still perfect. Inside, baseline jumper for Wooten. High arcing shot. The rainbow won't go. Puckett gets the offensive board over White and puts it back up and in for 2. 74-49. This Kentucky Christian team is not going to lay down. Johnson, pup fake, puts it up and in for 2. Johnson.
Absolutely unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable.
Nobody's been able to touch him here today. Out front and driving his Puckett, and he's going to be fouled. Put the ball on the deck, but lost it for a second, but Union couldn't sweep up and get the steal. Instead, it's going to be a foul.
And Fitzgerald White quick to put his hands up saying, yeah, that was me. Give the foul to me. I don't want, it was my fault. Don't give it to one of my teammates. And I'm sure Coach Burton will love to see that on film.
Deante Johnson, a cool 30 points in this contest.
Scary. Absolutely scary.
Johnson has 30 points and 8 rebounds up until this point. Next one on the way for Puckett, no good. Reuter going to pull down the rebound. White into the front court. The little Euro step puts it up, no good. Puckett with a nice rebound, but loses it out of bounds. They're going to say it's out on White. He tipped it last.
Fitzgerald White not playing up to, I'm sure, his standards for level of play, but playing well enough to make a difference to this Bulldog team.
And I think that's something that White maybe has to, come to terms with, that he doesn't have to carry the scoring load for this team as another shot goes for Ford. Once again contested. I don't think this Kentucky Christian team has shot a contested or has shot a shot that wasn't contested by Union, as the 3 for Fitzgerald White won't go. Carrier into the open court, across the timeline, down the lane, kicks it out for Ford, who swings it to Puckett. Puckett looks back inside to Carrier. Carrier goes up against White, puts it up no good, and Wooten tips it out of bounds. Union will have it. But, I know White wants to score. He wants to be a contributor for this team. He's got 4 points and 5 rebounds here tonight, but just his presence alone on the floor, like you said, is kind of enough to, Union's up 76-52. There's going to be games where Union will need Fitzgerald White offensively. You've got so many scores that you can go to on the floor. First bad pass into Johnson all day goes out of bounds as Tremaine Elias going to come back off the bench. But, you got Higgins capable of scoring 20. Stevens capable of scoring 20-plus. Johnson obviously capable of scoring 20-plus. White's capable of scoring 20-plus. Kapinga's capable of going off for a couple. Smooth 15 or so if you needed him to. So, not everybody is going to come out and score 30 every night. If that was the case, Union would average
well over 100 points a game.
Now in the open court goes Higgins. Gets it back. Goes up. Lays it in for 2.
And I know Fitzgerald White last year pretty much did carry the load
Yeah.
for this Union team. And, I mean, he was the player for this Union team last year. But, new players, new faces, transfers and whatnot, new, freshmen. But you got to, like you said, you got to understand your role on the team. And I think that's what a lot of players on this team get is their role on the team.
Puckett wide open under the basket, but can't corral the pass, and it goes off of him and out of bounds. So Union will have it.
Shouldn't eat that popcorn.
78 to 52, 7:35 remaining in the ballgame. That was an awful joke.
Longest yard? Never seen that movie?
Yes, I have seen that movie. White with a three, has all day to think about it. Left it short. Ford pulls down the rebound, gets it out to Carrier. Carrier across the timeline. Pounds the right-handed dribble. Gets a screen from Puckett. Dishes it off to Ford. Ford attacks. Guarded by White. Throws up a fadeaway jumper. It's no good. As Johnson pulls down the rebound. Throws it up for grabs, though, and Ford has it. Ford looks underneath the basket, but Kapinga comes away with the steal. Tries to save it back in bounds, but can't tiptoe the line and throws it away. Or don't throw it away, but he steps on the end line. So Wagner going to come back into the contest. Give Johnson a breather. And Buter is going to come back in as well. Hagans comes out, and Johnson comes out.
That could very well be the last that we see of Stevens, Johnson, and Hagans for the rest of this game.
So 3 ball on the way as White gives Carrier all day to shoot. Now Puckett swings to Ford. Ford will shoot it and get it. Union slow to close out. As it's 78 to 55, Coach Burton is going to call a timeout to talk about it. As they're going to give Union a 30-second timeout, I do believe. We'll take one, too. 78-55. We'll be back. You're listening to Bulldogs Sports Network. Coach Burton trying to fire the Bulldogs up defensively as they're up 78 to 55 here against Kentucky Christian as Wagner inbounds it to Kapinga. Kapinga brings it over the timeline. Kapinga gets a screen from Elias. Kapinga pull-up jumper on the way, left it way short, but Buter tracks down the rebound. Buter attacks left of the lane to Kapinga. Kapinga, rise and fire, no good. Wagner fights for the rebound, and Wooten finally pulls it down.
John, I know a lot of people are probably thinking, Buter's such a good three-point shooter last year. Kapinga's supposed to be, is such a great shooter and good player. Why aren't these guys making the shots in the game? I mean, I know these guys practice all day, every day a week, and, on their own time too, but game situations are totally different. And when you're sitting on the bench for, a good majority of a half, it's hard to come out and drain a three right away like that.
Yeah, I always got to try to get in the flow of the game, and it can be tough for some players, but, I've said it before. I think Kapinga is going to be, when it's all said and done, is going to be a player that this conference is going to be talking about, and the AAC, of course, is going to be talking about for a while to come. I think he's going to be a very special player. He's had a little tougher, stiffer learning curve than some of them, but, some of the freshmen and some of the other players, but I think he's really coming to his own, as we thought he would later on in the year. There's a reason that he's starting for Coach Burton.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because he's a Bulldog. Dalton Whitney checked in the contest. I called him a Bulldog in that game against Montreat, and that's exactly what he is. You're down or you're up by 30+, and Kapinga's playing like it's the NBA Finals as he goes and lays that one in as they're going to call it an and one. Thought it might have been on the ground, but Kapinga, you can't tell him that, this is a 80 to 55 lead right now. He's going to play like the game is on the line, and you can't teach that in a player. Can't teach that killer instinct.
And, I know Kapinga's played on some very, very good teams coming up with out in St. Louis and whatnot, but you have to imagine, he's pretty much been used to being the man on the team and coming into a team where he's not necessarily, the best player on the floor. He's good, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
He's not, everyone's just as good as he is. And, like you said, learning curve, but he's only a freshman.
Yeah.
He's got 3 more years. I'm sure the kid will pan out just fine, just like he did out in his high school days.
Wouldn't surprise me if, in 4 years we're saying, welcome to the 1,000-point club, David Kapinga.
Absolutely
Wouldn't
not.
surprise me a bit as Wagner gets the steal in the open court. Wagner going to gather, go up, and dunk it. Wagner with the one-handed throwdown.
That's 2 games in a row, John North.
As Wagner gathered, went up, threw that one down. Union has opened this one up 83-55. 3 ball on the way for Puckett. Got it. Kentucky Christian will not go away. I mean, I know it's 83-58, but my goodness. Cody Kruger in the ball game as well. Now Wooten gets a block. Kentucky Christian in the open floor. Pull up for Farley. Goes.
And you wonder if Kentucky Christian's just now hitting their stride.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're 6-15 coming into this contest, but very impressed from the Knots thus far. I thought they were going to get blown out pretty good in this one, but they've hung around for a long time. Kapinga down the lane, puts it up, no good. Wooten pulls down the rebound. Coach Burton just kind of shakes his head on that one.
I think Coach Burton may have wanted a foul, but you're up 23 points. You're not going to argue for one right now.
You're not going to get that either. As ball goes out of bounds, as the long arms of Kapinga deflects that one out of bounds. 83-60, 4:20 remaining in the ball game. As Ford will have it on the baseline. Ford looks inside and now swings out to Puckett. Back to Farley. 3-ball, no good. Union tries to come away with the rebound, but it falls right into the hands of Carrier. Now the full court press by Kentucky Christian. Whitney down the lane, lays this one up, no good. Elias pulls down the rebound, has it blocked by Wooten. And now Wooten has to fight it out of there and gets the rebound. Coach Burton probably not too happy with the way his team has finished this ball game, but they're up 83-62. Almost pushed it to 30, but Kentucky Christian will not go away. Inside to Wooten. Wooten lays it up, no good, but he's going to be fouled by Tyler Wagner. .350 remaining in the ball game as Wooten going to go to the free throw line. First one on the way. No good. Rimmed out. As Elias comes out of the ball game, as well as Puckett. He's put in some good minutes for the Knights. As TJ Jones sets a check back in as well. Next one on the way, good. So Wooten makes one of his 2. Wagner out of the ball game. So it's Reuter. No, excuse me, it's going to be Reuter. No, Reuter is in. Wagner is out. I thought he was going back to the bench. It's Whitney, Kapinga, Reuter, Kruger, and Jones. 83-63, 20-point lead here for Union. Reuter looking inside for a cutting Jones. Now to Kruger. Kruger attacks and puts it in for 2. I tried to combine Kruger and Reuter. That's tough. That's tough to go back-to-back to both of those names. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Carrier attacks, throws it up, no good. Chaffins gets a rebound, but it's blocked. Kapinga in the open court. Goes up, lays it in for 2 with a finger roll. 87-63 with 3:11 remaining. Think the Bulldogs can get to 100?
I wouldn't be surprised if the players on the floor are trying as hard as they can right now. I mean, I know you don't want to say, they're running up the score, but I'm sure getting to 100 is a check mark that they want to cross off.
It would be 5 straight games. Jones with the jumper, no good. Ford with the rebound. That's the watch we're on at the moment. Is can Union get 100 for the 5th straight game? I doubt that's ever been done.
I was going to say, is that a record?
I don't think they've dug that deep into the history books to see if it has been, but I don't think it's ever been done.
I'm going to come by your office and I'm going to give Gatto a hard time and I'm going to make him look that up.
I'm sure he probably has. As Whitney now in the open court all by himself goes up and finger rolls that one in. 89-63 with 2:30 remaining. Danny Fernandez set to check in at the scoreboard scores table as well. This one out front of Ford. Ford skip past to Wooten, right of the lane, jumper on the way, uses the board, but it won't go. Kruger with the rebound. Kruger hurries things across the timeline, down the lane, and finger rolls that one up and in. 91-63. Coach Burton going to call a quick timeout just to get a couple of players in. As coming back to the ballgame will be Matthew Lee and Christian Martin for Kentucky Christian. Out goes, looks like Carrier and Ford as Whitney comes out. Kyle Bush comes in as well.
As well as Kapinga and Danny Fernandez comes in.
So 2 minutes left to play here in the ballgame. 91-63.
2:02 minutes. That's a new one.
Free ball on the way. No good. Jones pulls down the rebound and dishes it out to Bush. Bush looking ahead. Gets it ahead to Reuter. Reuter attacks. Lays that one up and in for two. 93-63. Union has pushed it to 30. Farley comes across the timeline. Crossover dribble on Danny. Thought about the three ball over in the corner. Did number 12, Martin. Doesn't. Farley step back. Dishes into Wooten. Wooten, like he had the ball on a string there. Thought about the pass, and now Fernandez going to get credited with the steal. Quickly up ahead, all by himself, is Kruger, who goes up and lays it in with a right-handed layup. 95-63. I don't think they're going to get there.
The whole bench was rooting for
I want to go up
Kruger
and dunk
to
it.
throw it down, which, I mean, he can because we've seen him do it in layup lines before games.
1:02 to play. Dishes it off. Lee attacks down the lane, and there's a foul up top. Going to call Fernandez on the foul. 58.3 seconds remain.
John, although 5 points is feasible in 58 seconds.
Yeah, it is. Just depends on how quick Union scores here.
And the clock's running for a reason I can't figure out. I mean, I know no one's going to say anything about it, but
95-65 your score. I actually think he missed that. Did he miss that? As
no,
Jones
it went
puts
in.
It back up and in.
The ball went through the basket.
97-65.
We need a three.
I don't think it's going to happen now.
I'm rooting for it, John Norris.
Shot clock's going to be turned off. As Farley attacks, throws up a fadeaway jumper.
No, it's
won't
not.
go. Wooten gets it, and
yes,
now
it is.
floater will go for Lee.
Oh, no, Danny Fernandez is going to make it happen.
Fernandez, bounce pass over to Reuter, lays it up and in.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. 1 point away. Union is 1 point.
Foul. Foul. Oh, no. We're going to foul.
Lane, and there's a foul.
I told you.
8.9 seconds left, and I'd say Coach Burton just going to make Union hold it up here.
Yeah, he just gave him the mark. Dribble it out. There it is.
As Union will be held short of 100 for the first time in 4 games.
Yeah, he just told Danny to dribble it out. So this one's going to be over.
First one up and no good for Lee. Everybody hanging around, kind of hoping that Union will try to go down and score here in these 8 seconds, but Coach Burton's already called off the Dogs. Next one on the way, no good.
Well,
Kruger
there
gets
it is.
Kruger just going to try to dribble
unless he
it
gets
out.
fouled.
That would be true, too. 3, 2,
the whole
1.
bench is telling him to shoot, and Coach Burton's already on the other end of the floor. That's awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If Coach Burton told me not to shoot, as that's a final, 99-67, I'm not going to shoot. Union wins it, 99-67. We'll be back after this break with Coach Burton and also final game stats. You're listening to the Bulldog Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bulldogs Sports Network. Union takes care of business against Kentucky Christian 99-67, as I'm now joined by the head man for the Bulldogs, Coach Burton. Coach finally put away a very pesky Kentucky Christian team here today.
Yeah, I was I don't think we played our best game that we've played in a while, but I thought Kentucky Christian had something to do with it. They were aggressive and they had really good mentalities. And they, they weren't here just to play. They were here trying to win.
Yep.
And I thought they just really competed. I was really impressed with them a lot. And even more than that, we actually did a really good job on a couple of their good scores. Number Ford, Caleb Ford. He was 6 for 19. He had 20 points, but he was 6 for 19 from the floor. Which was pretty good from a standpoint of half-court defense. And then number 22, Tyler Farley, he was 7 for 15, had a good game, but he's an explosive scorer. He's had big nights this year. So if you'd told me before the game that he would have had 17 points, I'd have probably taken it. So from that standpoint, I thought we did a pretty good job, but a little bit lackluster. When you stick non-conference games in the middle, that sometimes that happens. That's not an excuse because we needed to play better. But here's the thing I wonder about it. We missed in the first half, by memory, 7 shots right at the rim, and not guarded, wide open shots, layups and dunks. And I wonder if we'd have made even just half of those, if we'd have thought we'd have played better in our minds. I don't know. But Deante Johnson had a huge game, of course, 13 for 14 from the field. I didn't think it was possible to improve on a 72% field goal percentage on the season, but he actually managed to do that today. He scored his 1,000th career Union point in less than 2.5 seasons of play. I don't know how many games he's played. I would say about probably 70 or so. So an impressive feat, especially when you factor in that his first season here, he only played a handful of games.
Yeah.
And then he's played on 2 really balanced teams as far as point production. So he's been a main cog for us, and just real proud of his performance.
Yeah, it just seems like going to Deante, because he did join the 1,000-point club here at Union. I believe the first player to do so since 2002.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a long time, and Deante Johnson puts his name on that list. But it just seems like he's got, the last 2 years he's had kind of a different mentality in the paint, and I think he's really simplified his game, and that's part of the reason that he's been so efficient. Would you agree?
100% agree. He is good enough and skilled enough and talented enough that he can actually do more than what you see. But what we see from him night in and night out, he's so dang hard to guard doing that I've wanted him to simplify his game and just simply do that alone, get near the rim, get a big target, and just simply go up and score it because he's so hard to guard that way. And at times you see flashes of his mobility and his versatility, but who can argue with how productive he's been for us and has really blossomed and improved as a player. And on top of that, he's just a great guy to have around. He's just a good person, and his mom and dad did a great job raising him because he's just a real respectful guy and everybody's friend on campus.
So step back out of back in conference this Wednesday, but I know you guys got to prep for a very, very tough Milligan team. What's after the game today? What's some things that you want to kind of clear up before that game?
Well, I think that this obviously is going to be the biggest game that we've played here in quite some time. If they prevail today at Tennessee Wesleyan, which will be a tough game, but even though we're 1 game ahead of them, we're really not. We're really tied, because if they beat us at their place, that will give us the same conference record, and they would win the tiebreaker because that means they would have swept us for the year, beating us twice. So, really the advantage, even though we have 1 less loss than them, it's kind of an even-Steven deal. So we're going to have to play a complete game. I mean, you asked me that question, which was a great question. I'm sitting there I'm thinking about all the categories to go through, and there's not anything that we can afford to not do well when we play them. I know one thing, we're going to have to do a better job of guarding them And the last time we played them, we had a really poor offensive performance. And it wasn't that we weren't making shots; it was how we were playing half-court offense. We were making bad decisions. We weren't setting screens. We were jogging through cuts, and we're going to have to do a much better job than that this time around. And our good players are going to have to play really big, and what people might consider our role players are just going to have to be, really, really good players. And it's going to be a tough environment. And I mean, that's one of those games that we can go down there, play hard, and play well and still lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to take more than just wanting to win, and it's going to take more than just good effort. We're going to have to do all those things and then actually play better and be more productive than them, which is not going to be easy. So we'll do the best that we can to prepare these next few days and get ready to go down there.
I know we hate jumping ahead, but that's a really big game coming up. So I definitely wanted to ask you about it.
No question about it. And that's a game since our last game against Montreat. I gave Rusty the Kentucky Christian game and said get our team prepared for Kentucky Christian.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of getting my mind dialed in on the Milligan game so that we can do a better job of coaching, because I thought that was probably one of the poorest coached games that I've ever had since I've been at Union. I'm going to try to make sure that doesn't happen Wednesday, so we'll see.
Any final thoughts? I'll get you out of here.
No, I was really pleased with the Saturday afternoon crowd. The folks from London came over today, and that was awesome. And hopefully we gave them enough that they'll want to come back and watch us again.
Coach, congratulations.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Good luck Wednesday. So kick it back over to Mason Elam for our final game stats as 99-67 Union winners over Kentucky Christian. Again, Union will pop back into conference against Milligan. That'll be at Milligan, 7:30 tip-off. Milligan will have that on their broadcasting network, so I'll for sure have be sure we'll get that link out. Probably won't make that trip, as now for those wondering, as we got time, usually don't make the road trips anymore because everybody has stretch now in the conference, and it's kind of counterproductive to go down there and broadcast when other teams are. But with that being said, final 99-67. Mason's got your final game stats, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sorry, John, I was waiting for Coach Burt to get up, and he's sitting here watching basketball on my computer. Anyway, not that I wasn't watching the Union game. But for stats, we'll start with Kentucky Christian. The leading scorer for Kentucky Christian was Caleb Ford with 20 points. Behind him, Ace Puckett with 18, Tyler Farley with 17, Bruce Wooten, Boyce Wooten?
Wooten.
Boyce Wooten with 4, Tyler Carrier with 2, Matthew Lee with 2, and James Chafins with 4. Kentucky Christian shot 40% from the field and 24% from 3, 68% from the free throw stripe at 9 and 15. They were 13 for 31 from the field. That was in the second half, so never mind. They had 27 turnovers in this game alone and 45 total rebounds for Kentucky Christian. On to the Union stats. Leading scorer was obviously Deante Johnson with 30, and he, like we've talked about so much already, and I'm sure you talked about with Coach Burton, breaking the 1,000-point club today. And behind him, Dominique Hagans with 13, Michael Buter with 9, DeAndre Stevens with 8, David Kapinga with 5, TJ Jones with 5 as well, Fitzgerald White with 4, Dalton Whitney with 2, Kurt Reuter with 4, Tyler Wagner with 8, Cody Kruger with 6, and Tremaine Elias wrapping up the scoring with 5. Union had 24 assists to 9 turnovers and had 40 total rebounds, not offensive rebounds. They shot an exact 50% from the field for the game and 21% from the three-point line as they increased their percentage from the first half from 10% to 21. They only shot 3 for 9 in the second half from 3. And from the free throw line, they shot 65%. In the paint, Union doubled Kentucky Christian's scoring output, 48 to 24. And there were 0 lead changes in this game, John North. So Union led this one from tip to final buzzer.
Wasn't easy, but
it was
Union
not.
ends up putting out, and once again, my hat's off to Kentucky Christian and the way they played. I thought they had a really good game plan. They were well coached here today, and I look at them and I don't see how they're 6-15 unless they have played a very tough schedule. But I'll give them that. So I think what we can take away from this game, not a lot, simply because this is an out-of-conference game, a little tune-up before we get back into conference play. So, in the grand scheme of things, throw this one out. It doesn't matter at all.
Right.
But I think a couple of things we can take away from it. Of course, Deante Johnson joining the 1,000-point club here at Union. I thought that was a big accomplishment for that young man, and congratulations. And, you played it poorly offensively. You still win by the margin you did, and you're going down to a place, to Milligan, where, like Coach Burton said, you can play as well as you can, and you can still lose down there. So it's going to be a big game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what he said at the very end of that is he gave Rusty kind of this game and said, hey, prepare our team. And that's what you have assistant coaches for.
Yep.
You don't do this job by yourself, and that's why they're here. Hey, this is not a conference game. It doesn't mean as much as the Milligan game is going to. So, that's showing that he has confidence in his assistant coaches to prepare his team for a game that, even though it is a non-conference game, does mean something, because you don't want to get your team down in the dumps and lose a game they probably shouldn't before walking into Milligan on Wednesday. And Milligan by no means is going to be an easy feat at all. I mean, like you said, they beat us by, I believe it was 1 here.
Yep.
And
1 point. Union had a chance to win it at the buzzer and missed it.
And my thing is, I'm scared for that game for Milligan's sake, because Union played dreadful in that game.
Yeah.
I remember that game. We played absolutely dreadful, and we still only lost by 1. So I think this game could be a really, really lopsided game in Union's favor if they come out and play.
So Milligan and Union coming up on Wednesday. Mason, any final thoughts about this one? I think we covered just about everything.
You can't really have final thoughts on this one. I mean,
Yeah.
other than Deante Johnson breaking 1,000 and Union not hitting over 100. That's really about it.
Push their winning streak to 8, though, and they'll continue to try to push on to that. So with Milligan, it'll be a tough one. I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably catch that one on the Buffalo Sports Network or whatever they call it down there at Milligan. But we'll see. Also, I think Coach Burton said it best when he said that game, Union has the advantage, but they kind of don't, because Milligan has the tiebreaker right now. So
Right.
It's kind of dead even at the top. But that being said, we'll wrap it up. A big shout-out to all my cast and crew. John Gatto, Jordan Childress, our sports information director. Steve Black, our in-house voice of the Bulldogs over Robeson Arena. My cameraman was James Hobbs. My color analyst was Mason Elam. I've been John North, the voice of the Union College Bulldogs, signing off, saying I'll catch you down the line.
The Union College Athletic Department would like to thank all of our corporate sponsors for making today's broadcast possible on the Bulldog Sports Network. Lowe's Sporting Goods, McDonald's of Barberville, Vesio Sports Fields, Pope's Lumber Company of Barberville, Barberville Utilities, and the National Management Resources Corporation. You can listen to today's broadcast at any time on demand and find scores, schedules, rosters, and recaps only at GoUnionBulldogs.com.